Well, here we are, folks. It's Saturday, June 6th. It's D-Day here in our living room. Rachel and me and Sharon outside. Let's talk about drinking. I was inspired to write this not because of drinking per se, but because of some of the adventures that it led me on. Very specifically with my mother. The title of this, for anybody reading it on the page, is Mom, My Drinking Partner Most Missed. Keep in mind that there were no teetotalers in either the Coe or the Welsh lines of ancestry. Both of my families passed down stories of imbibing, generally indicating the practice shared familiar approval. On my paternal side, Dad's dad was not a teetotaler, and lore has circulated that he was drafted by his new father-in-law to assist in tending the distillation of sour mash and stream water. So his father-in-law was Leonard Green, my grandmother's father, and Leonard distilled his own moonshine. I have no idea if it was for commercial reasons or just, for his own pleasure. But he had a couple of sons and a couple of sons-in-law that helped him with the process. My grandmother, who was a devout Southern Baptist to her core, did not consent to drunkenness. Certainly she was aware of her father's pastime, but I never heard her make any comments about it. Again, ask questions, kids. Don't wait until you think, don't put it off. If you want to know something about your grandmother's half-aunt or something, ask it now. The worst thing you're going to hear is your grandmother saying, not now, or no, or where'd you hear that, or what have you. So, I had interviewed some of Dad's cousins, and that's how I was clued into the rumor that Leonard Green passed as a result of being stricken by pneumonia, consequential to battling a brush fire up on Cranberry Ridge that spread close enough in the woods to threaten his still. There was no indication that it was for commercial purposes, except it's still against federal law because of tax evasion. On my mom's side, my mother was the result of a sprout from the grafting of two wildly different branches of our tree. Her mother was raised on scratch farming along the Muskingum River downstream from McConnellsville, a member of a family growing for 3 prior generations in this soil. After Ohio Power, which was a precursor to AEP, after Ohio Power paid mineral rights to strip the coal, farmers moved into town, in our case, McConnellsville. Now that same farmland that's been stripped and worthless serves as pasture for herds of goats. For adult beverages, her people were Methodists, Wednesday evening prayer meetings, and twice on Sunday, once at Ebenezer Church and later at McHenry United Methodist Church, both just outside of McConnellsville. Some of the ancestors that have laid to rest at the churchside graveyard since 1835. So, the commandments to Moses neglected to comment on alcohol. This branch of my family didn't drink, not to my knowledge. Maybe my grandmother's brother, Uncle Billy that lost a thumb when he was 7. He lost a thumb as a sacrifice, as a lesson to his sister's grandchildren to always do what you're told and don't do what you've been told not to, or you may lose a thumb. This grandmother, Edith Lighthizer, chose to see the world beyond Morgan County, Ohio. So she moved to Columbus to eventually marry my Irish Catholic city-raised grandfather. These two are poles apart. Although one of his uncles is said to have tended bar for the celebrated Pat Murnan at one of his Irish Broadway taverns, I never saw any indication my gramps did any drinking. Their daughter, however, developed her own tastes and favorites. Mom came of age during World War II in Akron, when most men of interest were away in uniform in Europe or the Pacific. She did get to impress her father with an introduction to local high school star athlete Ara Parseghian, and as her peers still in their teens liked to experiment with a variety of liquors. In sharing a memory with me on the onset of my introduction to drinking, she claimed the sickest hangover she'd experienced resulted from intoxication due to a popular concoction that all the kids were drinking, Slow Gin Fizz. Google it.
There's a Loretta Lynn song about it.
Once I joined the family, 1948, drinking booze came as naturally as chocolate milk. I bussed my parents' card table when they hosted the couple down the street for Saturday night bridge. Dad's brew was Stroh's Long Necks, purchased by the returnable case. That means we got the bottles for free, the beer we paid for. But it was ecologically sound because it was less destruction of glass, plastic didn't play into it, and we reused before we recycled. So, their weekend began on a Friday night. Most weeks he returned from being out on the road since Monday morning. He changed his clothes, Mom would get my siblings fed, and I'd hang with them to hear stories. Dad poured Mom's favorite, the first of more than one dry martini. This was my introduction to the nutritional value of olives. Then to his own bourbon and water. They talked, I listened. This was an oral accounting of my family tree. Dad believed in bulk purchasing way before Costco. When working around Chicago, he made a final stop before heading eastward to home. There was a big box liquor store on the east side of the city, probably Calumet, the last exit before entering Indiana. He called it Chicago's last department store. I assume that was what they called it too. I was in it one time, but I find no trace of it now in its existence in my Google research. It was his purveyor of gin and bourbon, half-gallon jugs, Gilbey's with the frosted clear glass, Echo Spring bourbon, each bulky enough to merit a glass handle for carrying. A couple of both stuffed into a cardboard box, less expensive than purchased in an Ohio state store and at a smaller tax rate than our state levied. Once home, Dad wanted to stay home. He wasn't much for dining out or visiting bars. Families in the early 60s didn't patronize restaurants as they do today. In our small farm town, Lodi had no eateries other than the local cafes and truck stops, certainly no dinner destinations. In town, there was one bar down on the square between our Western Auto franchisee and an A&P grocer. This, the Lodi Grill, served as daytime parlor for local retired gents who played pinochle and were content with pickled eggs, pig's feet, and POC, or Carling Black Label Beer, limited to no more than 3.2% alcohol by volume. POC was an acronym for Pilsner of Cleveland, or Pleasure on Call, depending on what radio ad you listen to, or derisively, Piss on Call. I frequented the grill every Saturday morning for my weekly collection on my plain dealer delivery route. As I crunched discarded peanut shells on the floor, walking towards the bartender, I saw the purple boiled eggs in the gallon jars atop the bar. The severed pig foot suspended in tinted vinegar. But even when I turned 18, I never bought a beer there, nor did my friends. We headed to the beer joints that offered stronger stuff.